Second segment of the show for today. We're talking about the crisis in Nigeria, and the guest is Dr. LMadu2. Now, Dr. LMadu2, when we had our first commercial break, we were dealing with two presidents. Let's sort of pick up at that and have you to explain to our audience how all of these things came into being and the consequences of them.
In a way, you have two centers of power now. There are people still loyal to the sick president, and then people loyal now to the acting president who really has the powers now, okay? That's why, like I said before, went on break, he dissolved the cabinet and fired the ministers, handed over, their ministries to what they call permanent secretaries. That's the bureaucratic head of those departments. The ministers are political heads. The bureaucratic heads are the permanent secretaries. So they are in charge now until he appoints his own ministers. Now, from what I understood today, speaking to somebody from there, he's handing over the names of his ministers, to the parliament in a few days for them to confirm. But I think he's going to have a problem because there's a lot of people in that body who are opposed to him, who do not want, make it difficult for him to have new and competent ministers.
Well, first, how long has he been president, Dr.
Well, he became acting president on February 9th.
Well, I mean the president that went out of the out of the country.
LMadu2 became president May 29th, 2007.
So he's only been president only a very, very short time.
That's correct. He became president in 2007. The irony of it is that those who imposed him on the country, because that's really what it is, knew that he was very, very sick when they imposed him. Okay? A lot of people kicked against it privately. But Mr. Obasanjo, who was then president, was determined to have his way. So he imposed him on the country, knowing that he was very sick. Okay? So since then, he's been one hospital after the other. The last one, he went to Germany, and came back. Now, from what I understood, they took him to Saudi Arabia to make sure nobody gets access to him, period. Because he knew that if he came to the United States or to Germany or to any European country, open democracy, reporters will be allowed to know what is happening with that president in our hospital. It can't be hidden. But in Saudi Arabia, the king runs everything. He can say, hey, we don't want any access. So that's why they took him down there for medical treatment. Now, the problem is this. If they had done the right thing from the beginning, we won't have this problem. 10 days ago, the Egyptian president Mubarak had a gallbladder surgery, minor like we say, even though no surgery is minor actually, really, in a German hospital. Before he left, handed over to the prime minister, full powers as acting president in case, accidents happen and that don't come back. There's continuity of government. Even Fidel Castro, as bad as we think he is, handed over to his brother when he was in hospital. As acting president, he was acting for a year or so before a new election made him president. Okay, so what is wrong? We say, well, I'm going to the hospital, you take over as acting in case something happens. None of that happened. That was why all these speculations. But the reason, according to people who know more what's happening, is that they didn't want power to shift to the south. Jonathan is from the south of the country. LMadu2 is from the north. And a group of people around him and some of the northerners do not want power to shift to somebody to the south. So they did all they can, to frustrate Jonathan, to keep power, in the hands of LMadu2, even though, he's sick. Okay. Now, the Constitution says, when the president is incapacitated or all that, he has to write to the vice president or to the parliament that he cannot perform his job. But if you cannot see the president with your eyes, you know something is wrong. You don't need any letter.
That's right.
Okay, that the onus is on him to tell us that
he's here.
Exactly. That he is well and capable.
He's alive.
Exactly. That he's alive. Not for the people to go find out. That's what I'm saying. We don't need any written letter. If he's away for that long and he doesn't tell anybody where he is, the taxpayers have a right to say, fine, stay wherever you are. Since you don't want to tell us, we find somebody else to govern.
President.
Exactly. Yeah. If you can't write. Some people say, oh, well, he can't write. He could have written. Fine, if he can write, what does it mean? He's incapacitated, okay? If he can't talk to the people, the same. If nobody can see him, the same. Okay, when he came back, people said, okay, now, if he's well, at least the little he should have done is wave to reporters from his plane or the car. At least we know he's walking.
Well, it's him.
That's right.
That
That is him. Nobody saw him, so nobody actually knew whether it's him or not. Nobody can say if he's walking. Nobody can say if he's talking. Nobody can say if he's eating. Nobody can say that. Only 3 people can see him. His wife, his aide-de-camp, and his chief security officer. Only.
Only 3 persons that have access to it.
To him. In a country of 150 million people, that people pay. His salary is still being paid by the people. Okay? His hospital treatment is still being paid by 150 million taxpayers. So they have a right to know what is happening with you, regardless of what you think. Okay? The president cannot privatize his health problem, then socialize the cost. Okay? Yeah. You can say it's private, you can know, well, we are paying the bill.
That's right.
Okay, yeah, if it's private, then pay the bill, leave us alone. The taxpayers can't pay for you to be in the hospital, then you say, oh, no, I won't tell them what's wrong with me. Oh, you don't have that right. You know, the governor, the president, even the mayors, they don't have that right because people are paying your salary. So if you're sick, they have a right to know what's wrong with you. They want to know who are the doctors are qualified to treat you in any way possible, you know, because they're being paid by taxpayers' money. When are you going to be well to come back to work?
That's right.
They have to know all this. But you keep people in the dark since November 23, 150 million people, no, not one soul can say actually they've talked to you. Okay? Nigerian members of parliament went to Saudi Arabia, they were driven away. People paid. That's their job to find out.
Legislative.
Exactly. That's their job to find out and report to the people they were driven away. You know, oh no, we won't allow them see him. Who has that right to tell elected members of parliament that they can't see their own president? Okay? Yeah. Another leader of a foreign country or his wife, the wife don't have that authority to tell the public they can't see the husband. Yeah, it's your husband, that's fine. But he's the president. Okay? No, if he wants to be a private citizen, nobody will bother you and him. But to tell 150 million they can't have access to your president, it's an insult to everybody.
Okay, and Dr. Madu, we're getting ready for our second commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll have about 10 minutes to further deal with this. But it seems to me that this is a very, very extraordinary kind of situation, and I don't recall ever having heard anything similar to what is going on there. It seems that I really don't know what to say about it. I think that's one of the, you know, and it starts to get humorous and et cetera, but it's so sad, and you wonder how in the world could this possibly happen in a country as large and as wealthy as Nigeria. Now, this is not some out-of-the-way country somewhere that nobody knows anything about. We'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.